Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to the ZenLeader Energy Management Session 101. So if you have signed up for today's session, chances are you are feeling maybe a little overwhelmed at work. You're unclear with how to manage some of the day-to-day stressors that go along with your to-do list, your meetings, maybe your boss, your peers, people that you have to work on projects with, and you're not really sure how to navigate some of those situations that leave you feeling at the end of the day maybe drained, or maybe it's 9:30 in the morning and you've just left a meeting and you're already feeling drained and not sure how you're going to make it through the rest of the day. So the whole purpose of today's discussion is to provide you with some thoughts, tools, and just some words of inspiration for reflection that will help to guide you along as you encounter these people and these moments throughout your days that are challenging for you with maintaining your energy levels. And so again, today's ZenLeader session is Energy Management 101. So we're going to understand, what does that really mean in terms of your own energy and other people's energy in the workspace. A lot of times that energy is working either against or with one another and we don't even realize it. So developing an awareness around what is energy management, how do we apply that in the workplace setting, and as a result, my hope for you is that you will also be able to take away some energy management techniques as it relates to life outside of work. One of the things that I learned in the day-to-day corporate grind was that I didn't just all of a sudden turn into this robotic employee and then leave and go back to being a human being. I was a human being the whole time. So I think we have a tendency to forget that as we go into the workday and have these expectations that whatever might be happening outside of work isn't playing a factor or playing a role in us being in our workplace environment. So chances are you're carrying in whatever energy with you into the workplace that is happening outside of the workplace. And so part of these energy management techniques, again, will not only help you with other people, but also help you manage your own energy with things that might be taking energy away from you. So that's the purpose of today's conversation. We will be rather quick, so 30 minutes, just in time for you to take your lunch break and then head back to work. The intent behind the ZenLeader programs is really to help translate things like yoga, mindfulness, awareness, tools that can help you to calm some of the chaos in the day-to-day workplace in a way that's accessible, in a way that's meaningful, and in a way that doesn't require you to change clothes and roll out a yoga mat and figure out how to fit that into your day. My goal as an educator, entrepreneur, a yoga teacher, specifically with wellness and education, is to really figure out ways to bring this information to you so that you're able to fit it into your busy day-to-day work schedule. It's often unrealistic that you are able to carve out time to meditate or do yoga or just sit still for a minute. And a lot of times when the chaos is swirling around us, sitting still and being still is one of the last things that we think we're capable of doing. And then add in the mind and the mental part of needing to have that be still and be quiet. That can almost seem impossible. And so some of these tools that I'm going to talk about today that will help you to think about managing your energy might not be rocket science. In fact, they're not. They're pretty simple techniques, but that's being delivered with the purpose to help you think about how can that be translated into your day-to-day when you're at your desk, when you're stepping away from your desk at lunch, if you get 10, 15 minutes to go take your lunch break, in the car, on your way to work, on your way home? How can you find ways to rechannel your energy if it's been scattered in a bunch of different places? And when we step in the doorway at work, or maybe this from the second we open our eyes, our brain is already working on a list of things that we have to get done. And you know, I've read over and over again, and I can't remember exactly who said it, but they say one of the worst things that you can do in the morning, the first thing when you wake up, is pick up your phone or read the news, or go right into information processing, because that information processing is already gearing up your brain. And if we don't have a handle on that, can start to send us into overwhelm or overload. So it really starts the second that you open your eyes and you begin your day, taking, even if it's just 30 seconds, to take some deep breaths and make a conscious choice not to pick up your phone right away, allowing yourself just to be still for a moment. And I know that that can be really challenging when the mind is constantly running. I don't know exactly how many thoughts we have in a day. There's a lot of statistics out there that try to nail down it's 98,756, whatever it is, right? But it's a lot. And if as soon as your eyes are opening, your mind is already going, it can be a constant drain or a constant working, almost like the battery on your phone, if you think of it that way, or when your phone's searching for connection or location, it's that constant running in the background. If you've ever tried to run the task manager on your computer, the background processes that, you know, you have them down to 0 and then they go to 68, 98, and your computer's running slower and slower and slower. That's essentially what's happening with you, with the number of background processes and thoughts that you have in your mind, which makes it more challenging to focus, to concentrate, to most importantly, feel like you have a sense of calmness around your day. So if you have that going for you already, and then you add in maybe some people at work or people that you have to interact with that compound that feeling of energy being pulled, it makes it even more challenging to, by the end of the day, feel like you have some energy in your reserves. So thinking of your energy almost as like your bank statement, your balance statement, and thinking of it in terms of an investment. If we're all probably in some way, shape, or form in an office setting, that's really what ZenLeader is geared towards. So in that office setting, thinking about your energy as an investment into certain transactions on your bank statement, whether that's a meeting, whether that's a project. Think of each one of those interactions as something that you'd see on your bank statement. Then think about the level of energy investment that is either required or that you're giving to each one of those activities. And what's the return on that investment of your energy? And you might not necessarily have that calculated, and I don't know that this is something that you can really create a tangible calculation for, but what you do know is how the feeling that you have after that meeting that you go into with your boss, the feeling that you have after you've worked on a project for 3 or 4 hours, and how do you feel about the investment of time and energy that you spent on that? And so if you think about that in terms of a bank statement and each one of those activities being a transaction, and your level of your energy being the investment that you're giving to that transaction, it it starts to kind of work itself out, where at the end of the day, chances are you might look at the bottom of that, the bottom line, and you might find yourself in the red every day. And I think it's probably pretty common that a lot of people can relate and connect to that feeling. So finding yourself in the red every single day, you add that up over time. If you're constantly overdrawn or withdrawing and not balancing out that energy investment, or removing transactions or activities that you're putting energy into but not receiving investment in return, then over time, like we're saying, you will probably feel the impact of that red in the bottom line. And needing to figure out different ways to rebuild and regain that energy. That can be really challenging to do when you're in the 9 to 5. And that's part of what we're talking about today, are what are those small things that you can do? Because it's not super realistic to say, I'm not going to go to that meeting with my boss. I'm not going to do that project. I'm not going to spend time here. Your job is your job, and the activities of your job are what is required in order to fulfill those responsibilities. So it might not be realistic to remove some of those transactions. In some cases, you might be in an environment where you can have very real conversations with your superiors or your peers or your colleagues and say, hey, I'm not finding that my skill sets or my strengths are really being used on this project, not really feeling like I'm bringing a whole lot to the table. And so it might be best if I don't work on this project, and finding different ways that you can reorganize or reallocate what you have to bring to the table, maybe in a more beneficial way. So if that's the case, I would encourage you to have those conversations. If it's not the case, which is really common, that we don't get to pick and choose what we're involved in or the frequency or the people that we work with, then it becomes an opportunity for you to figure out ways to help yourself, and help yourself throughout the day with small things that can make a really large difference or large impact. So we start with, what do we do when we open our eyes? What do you do on the way to work? Are you spending time listening to podcasts? Are you on the phone? Are you paying bills? How do you use that time on your way to work? Maybe you're dropping kids off at daycare or school. Thinking about what happens after you leave the house and you're on your way to work. How does that process, that time, that transaction impact you? Or do you even know? Are you, once you open your eyes, in a state of autopilot where it's hard to even know how what you're going through each day is impacting your energy? So that's an opportunity to think about too. I've talked to quite a few people. I know for myself, there are times where you get in the car, you drive to work, and you get to work and you go, I don't even know how I got here. I don't even remember driving myself here, because the mind is in so many different places. And part of what can help you feel like you're regaining that energy and having some control over that energy is having some control over the mind, which is way easier said than done. So I'm not sitting here saying that that's a quick fix, but that's where part of the mindfulness comes into play. You hear people talk about meditation and breathing and quieting the mind, and that all sounds great, but the reality is it is very challenging to, when you're in the midst of that mental chaos, to take a step back and think, hey, my mind is running on overdrive right now, and there's a lot of things going on. I need to somehow figure out how to quiet my mind, because I know if I don't, my energy is going to keep spinning, and I'm going to start just spending my energy in places where I'm not going to feel good after. I know people around me aren't going to feel good. And as a result, I'm probably pretty close, if not back in the red by the end of the day. And that can either be triggered by you, or it can be triggered by, again, meetings, people around you, things that aren't getting done, things that you want to be different that maybe aren't different. So, the other piece that I would encourage you to think about is, what are those triggers for you? Who are those people for you? What are those things that happen that cause your mind to go even on more overdrive, that causes your energy to go to places that feels like you can't rein it back in, like it's you've got a hole in the bucket and it just keeps draining out, draining out, draining out. Think about those interactions throughout your day. The reason that that's important is, one, what you're doing is you're slowing down what's happening in your day-to-day to develop an understanding of what is creating and causing this feeling for me. Once you have that understanding, you can practice things like breathing techniques. Maybe you use essential oils. Maybe you burn a candle. You do certain yoga postures before you go into meetings. If you know that a certain regular meeting that you have every week really gets you going, you come out not feeling good or feeling stressed or overwhelmed, understanding what are those pivotal moments throughout your day that cause that feeling or cause that switch, because they're going to be there. They're going to be there every single day. Things happen outside of your control all day long. And the reality, we're not able to control those things or people or circumstances or environments, but what we do have direct control over is our energy and the way that we move through whatever's being presented to us. So to kind of circle back and bring together what we've talked about so far, one, you wake up first thing in the morning, notice what you do, where your mind starts to go. Take a second and slow that down. And if you can, take 30 seconds before you pick up your phone, before you get out of bed, and just allow yourself to be still. Notice what happens on either your commute on the way to work or the process of you getting ready to leave the house. What is that experience like for you? And what are ways that you can continue to create that sense of calm and peace and quietness as you're making that transition from home to work? Once you get to work, noticing what situations throughout the day, people, meetings, tasks, activities that start to create more of that chaos for you. And understand what that word chaos means. It's not just, I don't like this person, and so they create chaos for me. It's, this person creates this feeling for me, and these thoughts start to go on in my head. And as a result of my thinking, my response is what is impacting my energy. But before we can even begin to work on that, we have to develop an understanding of what is happening, what are those circumstances that are causing those feelings and those triggers to start to spin you out of control. Once we have an understanding of those, then we can look at ways to incorporate, as I said, essential oils. Maybe it's lavender for calming. Maybe it's lemon for uplifting. You can get essential oils anywhere. I think Target has them. Look for different ways to bring in your senses. And people might look at you like you're crazy. Why do you have oils on your desk? Why do you have crystals on your desk? Crystals are another way to create a sense of calm. You can do some research on crystals, and there are crystals that offer grounding. If you're feeling like you're just floating and you're all over the place, finding a crystal or a rock that you can pick up and hold on to when you need that sense to kind of create an anchor and create a sense of calm. or carry it in your pocket. That way it's there when you need to reach for it, or just throughout the day, if you notice that it's there, it's going to create that connection in your brain and your thought process that says, okay, that's what this stone is for. That stone is to help me stay grounded and stay connected. And as a result of that, your energy will also be working to being closer to staying grounded and connected, because it will be that reminder. So these little things that you can do throughout your day, yes, they will help you, but they also serve as reminders to help you remember that you are in a state of control over your thoughts, over your actions, over where and how your energy goes. And that's the critical part of why slowing down has to happen. If we are in that autopilot mode, or our mind is wrapped up and swirling with all these thoughts, it makes it extremely difficult, as I said, if not impossible, to take a step back and work some of these tools and tactics to help you move into the space of feeling that sense of calm, whether it's anxiety, whether it's just frustration, anger, that place of quietness and stillness allows that clarity to come through. That clarity is key to managing and guiding and steering the energy that you have. So you have a couple areas to work on to understanding your energy, understanding how your energy gets used throughout the day. We talked about the bank statement, talked about the transactions on the bank statement, the investment of your energy, whether you're in the black or the red. I don't know that it's realistic to have the bank statement always in the black. I think there are going to be days where we're going to be in the red. The goal might be to work toward that black number, so we have a sense of balance. And life is a constant moving stream of energy itself. And so finding a sense of balance with everything that moves and allowing yourself to move with it is really part of what these tools can help us to do. We're not going to stop our thoughts. We're not going to stop our minds. We're not going to stop the way that we respond or react in situations. But what we can do is help to create a more peaceful and calming way in our own head that will in turn help us to translate that in our actions, our behaviors, and help us to manage the energy that we are expending. So I hope today's session is valuable for you. I hope there are some takeaways that you can implement right away in your own office setting. Please feel free to share this with your peers, your colleagues, your boss. Maybe it's something that you want to incorporate in your next team training session if you're looking for material there. I do offer one-on-one coaching as well as customized team and wellness programs that we can either do on-site or virtually for your groups. So again, Jodi Ashbrook. You can find me at ZenLeader.org. That's all one word, lowercase. And my hope is that our conversation today helps you to bring some calm into the 9-to-5 chaos. I will look forward to seeing you again soon. I will post updates for the May and June sessions coming up, and would love to hear about any implementations that you found from what we talked about today, successes, reflections, anything that you want to share. Please don't hesitate to email me. So thank you again for your time. I will see you soon.